Time Travels, Exploration of Lives Remembered, Chapter 18, The Healing Part of QHHT. This is a story of the healing of severe migraines and tinnitus. Early in my QHHT practice, this was the most challenging session for me to facilitate. I'm including this session because it dramatically illustrates the power of the higher self and the beauty of the quantum healing hypnosis technique in a client's self-healing. Clark came from the other side of the state to where I live in Wickenburg, Arizona. For those clients in the local hotels, I ask them to call me once they get settled, or I facilitate the session the following morning. Clark is adamant about being cured today. He gets migraines along with tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears. He receives multiple medical Botox injections all over his head every 3 months to manage his migraine headaches. Past life. The entire time I speak the induction script, he snores. Coming up to the theta level of deep hypnosis, Clark finds himself as a cowboy sitting on a cloud wearing tennis shoes. The scene changes. Clark now finds himself seeing colored domes, then in a sporting goods store looking at guns. He goes back to sleep, snoring loudly again. No matter what I say, he keeps going back to snoring. I bring him out of hypnosis easily and ask him to take his magnesium oxide medicine for his headaches that he is prescribed to take throughout the day. I direct him to take a nap, and I will return at 2 in the afternoon. So I came back to his room. He says he had a great nap. I begin the regression again. He seems to be settling in quite nicely. Suddenly, he opens his eyes and says, "Sorry, Barb, this isn't working. I'm not even relaxing. I can't see anything. I'm just wasting your time." I ask him if he would like to stop, and he says yes. I share with him that he did receive healing. He's just not aware of it yet. When I speak with Clark the next day, he's sitting outdoors on a bench. He says he had the worst headache of his life, and now it is gone. His tinnitus of 18 years is gone too. He is delighted to be free of the ringing in the ears. 1 week later, Clark shares with me that the ringing in the ears still has not returned, which tickles him pink. That alone was worth the trip, he says. I agree with Dolores Cannon that the client receives exactly what they need in accordance with their soul agreements and contracts. As Clark listens to his recording, he can continue to receive more healing. It's up to him. I have since learned it doesn't matter if my client goes to sleep during the relaxation induction into hypnosis. As soon as I start asking questions, the client is able to talk about their past life scene, and the higher self comes through and answers their questions, just like other clients who don't enter the delta brainwave level of sleep. And here's another story. Urinary incontinence. I facilitated this session in a hotel room for a mother of 2 adult daughters. She came to me because one of her daughters received a QHHT session from me, and it was transformative for her daughter. Although an advanced spiritual person, Lois didn't meditate. She had no hobbies, but did love to travel by car. Lois was born in the Middle Eastern country. Both parents never told her they loved her. She doesn't remember her childhood. Lois's reason for a QHHT session was curiosity. Her health concern was her low back discomfort of 29 years from picking up her daughter. During the interview, I shared with Lois that it's important not to compare her session with her daughter's or any other session material that she had read about or seen on videos. Past life. Halfway down into hypnosis, Lois sees the ocean. She then goes out over the sea as an air molecule. I turn on the recorder. The rest of the time is spent looking at colors and light, then nothing. Higher self. I begin to asking questions and hear Lois say in a defiant manner, "No, I don't have to tell you anything." This could be either the ego or an entity. I ask, "Who is talking with me?" Lois responds, "No, I don't have to tell you." After attempting further conversation without dialogue with the higher self, I methodically ask each of Lois's questions with pauses of silence between them. I know the higher self is present and listening. Then I count Lois up and out and she goes to the bathroom. When she returns, she refuses to go back into deep hypnosis. I honor her free will and ask her to lay on the bed in order for me to follow the protocol to properly bring her back to the fully awake state. She felt she was under hypnosis for 15 minutes. When I tell her it was over an hour, she is shocked. Lois remarks, "My session wasn't anything like my daughter's." And I reminded her, "Remember, we don't compare your session with anybody else's." After she left, I asked Dolores, "What is going on here?" Dolores replies, "Keep going. You're doing good. Watch what happens next." I do remind Lois that each QHHT session is unique for each individual, and I prepared the recording for her using a CD burner, and that she was to take this home and continue listening to it. Unexpected phone call 12 days later. Lois calls me and says she has had bladder control problems in the form of urinary incontinence for the past 25 years. And since the day of our session, she's had no problems with her bladder. She was used to changing her underwear 10 times a day. For the week after the session, she could feel a tightening sensation in her lower abdominal and pelvic muscles occurring throughout the day. Lois normally doesn't talk about this sensitive subject, but now she is telling all her friends and her clients about her QHHT session and what transpired afterwards. On the day she called, she says she suddenly has been receiving downloads of information from her higher self. Lois is very happy and so excited that she felt compelled to call and share her news. Lois didn't even mention about the bladder problem during the QHHT session, but the higher self hears and knows everything. The higher self takes care of it. For some clients, the healing aspect of a QHHT session is hampered by emotional attachments that develop from childhood and or young adulthood trauma. We practitioners must then dive a little deeper into the blocks and barriers to help the client heal and free themselves of their self-imposed bondages and other shenanigans that have manifested in their body and energy fields. So let's look at a session story where the higher self removes emotional attachments and entities that block healing.